Children of the great race, listen to my words, remember it, and it pass to your offspring. Future for all your generations, roots in the past of your forefathers. As you yourself create your present and future, which lives in your hearts. If there was never in the past love in your hearts for your forefathers, then there is no future for your generations, which means your present is senseless. As everything what you create for your forefathers and offspring will turn into eggs. Remember, if there's love in your heart, there will be a future for your forefathers. So hail the forefathers, hail the gods of the true light, hail the Arya and the Great North. For all of humanity hails the Great North, as unto the forefathers. And if in vain you forget valor of the past and go to nowhere, and thus look back and say, as if we are ashamed to realize both sides of the Prav and Nav, understand our own way. And as to the purification rites of initiation into the mystery school, this is Septic Exposa, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Occult Science back on another segment. Here I am joined by a current initiate, Adrian O'Grady. And to this, we are going to get into things and expound the expansion of everything that is unfolding. Adrian, it's good to have you on. How are things going with you, man?
In my mind, it was 2 years ago since we spoke. At the start, when all the information came through, like you sent the email, I've been going through all the material. I didn't try and get bogged down with anything, just tried to work through all the material, getting in a bit deeper. That took me a couple of months just to go over it. I went back through all your videos. I think I've watched 95% of the videos you put on YouTube. Got into Michael Sarion stuff. I was already on Unslaved, premium member of Unslaved. Got into Thomas Sheridan stuff. Thomas Sheridan's great like that. He's really helped over this time just to keep the emotional balance in perspective. There's a few other people around there just on the astrology. Astrology and the tarot has been hard to get into. It seems to go in cycles with me. I get bursts of it. I need a context.
Yeah, one thing I want to remind you of, all of these arts and sciences are lifelong stories. So it's not to assume you're going to come to a rival point, literally with anything else. And true, it's always going to be there as a true guide, man. The world on a daily fucking basis is so unbelievably fucking distracted by bullshit. 9.9% of the shit out there is bullshit. The goal with this path work is the results. If you're not getting results, then you're not doing the fucking work.
So what this material has done for me, where I was getting bogged is in clearing shadow. When we spoke last time in the initiation, I've been using meditation techniques and went through the castaneted material. There's been a few systems that I've been using to dredge out stuff, and that was all bogging up. This material's unlocked the next level. Every time I go back through astrology or look at mine or something else comes up. And even in relation to how I've reacted to what's going on around me, both of those systems together have really helped throw up a lot of other stuff. It was my thymus really heated up and was just pulsing for days. And then I had this massive pain and I couldn't sleep for 3 nights. I could only sit up. That's when there was no pain. It was right in the sacral bones themselves. When I finally got out of pain, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? It said, you're having new T cells activate in the thymus. I'm like, okay, that's fucking interesting. And then I got a map because I was looking at all science stuff and like, what are T cells and what do they do? Just in regards to all that. I had this vision of a map of the T cells in our template. And what was there for me was activated in this reality field in the thymus gland in terms of immunity, body's response to fighting, clearing stuff out of ourselves.
Like the white blood cells in the bloodstream. They're fucking relentless when you start to activate and experience this. Anything that's there in terms of overlays and distortions is going to kick out. And where you feel it in terms of doing shadow work is of our physical body. Think of the physical body, the dirt, mind being the soil that the astro-psychological tree is planted in context to mind being the soil. Yeah, you start to activate from your core, it's going to push the poison out. That's what I warn people in terms of the alchemical rites of initiation. Like, you got to know what you're getting into because it's fucking pain.
Yeah, that was the biggest physical thing that's happened. My neck and spine is where I have all my problems. And it relates to dizziness. The dizziness kicks up every now and again in a bigger way. I'm just trying to straighten out. I can't drink alcohol anymore. And sugar, anything that has sugar in it, I'll get pain in my mouth. A lot of physical exercise. I get a lot of the exercise now through doing construction tasks. Building stuff.
Right. I mean, but you got your business, you're on your shit every fucking day where you're at, right?
There's not a lot of work that comes through the business, though. And that's been one of the things I've faced. And in terms of astrology, I was just going through the other day and something came up in relation to, I think it was Jupiter. And I kept projecting into my business a lot of my own moral standards and judgments in terms of web design. I'd want to do things a very specific way because I hadn't really looked in Jupiter. Like, I'd done all my major signs and I was still sort of looking at that level. And I'd started to go through all the other bits. And then he was like, bang, that. And I was like, oh, fuck, yeah. Like, and he was saying, you're going to have a lot of problems with business. Yeah, you're right. I'm in the process of considering how I deal with that in the business terms. But
as far as business, earth energy, you got to look at what all your earth energy is happening. Sun in the 6th house, the moon in the 2nd house, Taurus and Virgo energy there, conjunct your Venus, ascendants in Taurus. In terms of business, when it comes to Libra, that's the expansion of your creative potential, but it's challenged by Saturn with that conjunction. That's where all that challenge is coming from, man. And then it shuts down the 5th house, which is your creative abilities and your drive and your fucking fire and your passion. And for whatever reason, again, Libra, the 7th gate access, right? The gates of wisdom, relationships. You got to look at Venus and where Venus is placed. And you have the 5th house there, right? And Venus is your values. Venus is the relationship you have with yourself, man. So that's there, but for some reason it's been challenged. And it does go back to a work dynamic where you were shut the fuck down. Saturn in the 5th house. Anytime you express yourself or put forth a creative idea, and that's what you should do with your Jupiter energy, that conjunction to Venus as well. It's going to come up against that challenge. People try to stop you or say that's fucking stupid or you can't do this or that or whatever the fuck. Even deeper, dealing with that fucking dialogue within yourself.
Yep. And that was my whole previous work career. That is what happened. I'm a trained accountant. I did commerce out of university. I started in accounting firms, but then I went into IT. I like IT. I probably should have done it just straight IT. And anyway, the business is really, my father used to be a CFO of companies and stuff like that. So the finance thing is a strong thing with me. Anytime I did improvements, the work I was doing was shut down. Oh, you think you're better than us, or you think you pick the bullshit, but it was always the same, like you're saying. So
the one thing, anybody that's doing anything like what's done, don't compare what you do to anybody else. That's the detriment. And that 2nd house self-esteem bullshit that can come up, that's where a lot of the issues tend to happen. And it doesn't really matter whatever gate it's in, as far as planetary gates. Those self-esteem issues, how you perceive yourself, and then get into comparing. You could be even kicking even more ass, doing it better than them, but you're still comparing.
Yeah, you bring it back down to
weird.
Lowest.
And Venus rules Taurus. And Venus goes back to your values, the relationship you have with yourself. Whatever fucking shit comes up, it puts out your drive, it puts out your creative abilities, which you have a lot of, dude, especially with Jupiter in the 5th house, expansion, again, being challenged. And then that goes back to your values, the gifts that you are here to bring forth in terms of health and service and business. You got a lot of business energy. And if you work with Saturn, it's like this with Saturn with all of us. How bad do you really want it? Going to cause this setback, this delay, this fucking discrepancy, this motherfucker talking shit. It's the cosmic obstacle for us. He's tearing you down, but he's preparing you for fucking war.
Yeah.
Be able to take the hits. That's your South Star in Aquarius, conjunct your midheaven in terms of communications. That conjunction with your North Star, you got your Saturn in the 5th house being challenged. So if you don't ignite that fucking lion that's in you, a lion don't take no shit. Even within themselves, they don't entertain or co-sign the fucking narrative of anything that's going to put out the fire. So anytime that comes up, that's an attack. That's shadow shit. That's not you, even in terms of your templating and where your templating is working to take you. So you come up against those fears, like I talk about with that axis energy. It's this underpinning Saturn in the 5th house conjunction, hitting all the other gates that have the 5th house, including your North Star and Leo. Really, you're meant to be shining, to shine forth and be bright, and for your quality of creative self-expression, creativity, evolving of your abilities. Aquarius is the artist. And it's meant to be out. Fucking losers that want to talk shit. Put out your fucking light. Who the fuck has time for that? Not people that are actually following their dreams and their goals and their objectives. You're dealing with a weak ass fucker. I don't care if it's a man or a woman, and they're fucking losers. They're no threat to you or your quest. They're like little fucking mosquitoes.
I had a dream not so long ago where my arms were covered in mosquitoes.
There you go.
The arms being the action in the world and the mosquitoes weighing down.
That's exactly what I just said that, man.
So
you talk about correlations.
There you go. Yeah. No, that's interesting. I have had, in terms of projects, all of a sudden in the last couple of months, everything that I've been working on has all of a sudden started working. These are projects which some of them, I'd started them 2 years ago. And I couldn't understand. And all of a sudden, I pick it up. I understand the spec sheet. I haven't even looked at the stuff. I was like, what the fuck was I doing? Everything just started working.
That's your ability in the South Star, man. That's your natural disposition. With Aquarius, the fire magic that you have as well. Streamline that inspiration, that ignition, whatever you're putting your hands to. And you're very good at knowing blueprints and schematics naturally. You can look at something and see how the wiring, you have a natural gift in terms of this. With the air magician. Again, though, to Libra, the gates of wisdom, again, getting shut and getting fucked with. If you want to be successful, you have to stop giving a fuck what anybody thinks. You can't do what you do because you want the validation. You do it because you are validating yourself in terms of your vision.
Yep.
You believe in your vision, you believe in yourself, right? And so many men fucking deal with this shit. All the outer planets in terms of the leaves and the fruits, that's all the subconscious, unconscious shit that we all deal with. So it's to consider that as well. All the things you're pulling in context to conjunction. Your South Star is in the 9th house, conjuncts your Neptune and Sagittarius. So the transformation process you will go through all goes back to you remembering how to ignite your fire magic, and then that streamlines Leo. That's how you overcome the fucking challenge in terms of Saturn. And then you're taking all of this to the North Star in the 3rd house, which is communications. Divine connection in your thymus. Your thymus gland is firing up. That's the gate. That's the portal physically that manifests. That is our connection to the higher force, man. 15th gate. These energy fields within our system mechanics, man. So,
and I could feel all the holes, the little holes in the bones of the sacral bone. I could actually feel those holes. Whilst the pain was there, I also had real insight into the bone. Weird.
It's the inner sweat lodge. Things in terms of Sather, shamanism, boiling forth. And the Sather or the Sathe or the seething or boiling, at that point, you're going into catharsis. You're moving the energies. You're coming out of chaos. When people are in catharsis, they're coming out of chaos. It looks like chaos to the onviewer, and that's why the Galder's there. No, they're moving through their process. What I state in terms of the Athanol, you stack and burn this shit. And you got to know your capacity, how much you can take. It's layer upon layer, depending on what you've been through or your environment. And we're getting fucking nailed, the entire human race. Krishnamurti, and I've been quoting this lately, stated that it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to an insane society. So if you're not in catharsis about all of this madness, doing everything you can to focus on your vision, your purpose in the face of this shit, then you're not really fucking alive. You are in chaos. And that's how their orders brought about stagnation, entropy, rot, slave mentality, victim mentality, all of that stuff that you're picking up on with your soul spark and Scorpio. You got psychic ability there in terms of your process. None of that is coming from your core. It's trying to rake you into this shit that you're surrounded by, fortifying your field and protecting that. Moon in Cancer, you're in a bad environment. You're around bad people. I don't care how they look on the surface. The energy's fucking whacked. And you can sense that.
Absolutely.
And you got to trust that energetic signature letting you know the difference.
My shielding techniques have had to go up to another level. 90% of the people are just completely fucked. There's too much rot going on, and it's projecting out now because they're just projecting their fear. They're in fear and they're projecting it constantly.
You're a master fire magician. In this life, they're trying to put that fire out. And that goes back to Neptune. And then the process of transformation that you go through, that underworld shit, to get back your fucking fire, dude. That which belongs to you. That to the challenge, the inner tyrant that's going to have its way with you, man, otherwise. Because Leo can become a tyrant.
Yep.
Fuck. You're afraid to do something, do it.
Absolutely. And that's what I've concentrated on. And that's really any self-esteem issues and stuff has really dropped away over the past sort of couple of years. Speaking now, that's help expression.
Look at the fucking ritual that everyone co-signs to the muzzle. Cuts off the fucking throat chakra and seals the fucking heart into an eclipsed process. That's a fucking ritual, man. Look at what they did. They targeted the heart, cut off the fucking throat chakra, and then muzzled your ass. You don't have a voice. You don't even have a soul anymore, according to the World Economic Forum, these fucking psychopaths.
And the louder they get, the more it becomes apparent, the more they yell and scream. What's happening underneath it is crumbling away like a rotted cheese. We've joined a lot of Telegram groups in Australia, just trying to find Australian resistance groups.
You should check out Neil Pascoe. He's out of Sydney. I did a few segments with him.
Okay.
He invited me on to speak with George Cavasilis. George Cavasilis lives in Australia. I got a lot of students in Australia, man, a lot of initiates in Australia.
Watch that segment. I just found that the other day, one you did with George, because I was on his channel and I saw you there. I went, oh, shit. Yeah.
I can hit these people up at any fucking time. There's a lot of students and initiates in Australia, man. We're coming to that time. It's like we've been through all this shit, collective dark night of the soul. I even stated that the entire collective would be going through a blackening in 2020. It fucking happened. I saw it. I saw it coming. A giant fucking tidal wave coming through the etheric lens of my perception.
We faced the medical system and all that stuff's come up, but I've been trying to work some people through some health food shops around here. We help them with the laws and how to stay open and how to stay unmasked. And
I have an affidavit I could send people if they fucking want it. Put it in the Black Earth Library.
They've left holes in the legislation and stuff that they've written.
Of course, man.
That you can drive a truck through. And becoming aware of them, one shop just printed it out and highlighted it and put it on the wall of a shop. And the police came in because, other shops around and said, here. Then they just left. It's as simple as that. And with mask wearing around, the police, they say, why aren't you wearing a mask? I'm exempt. And that's it.
It's all a fucking word game. It's a word game of spells. Here's the thing, again, on the highest levels in terms of the first veil, you come to understand how reality actually works and what's really going on beyond government and corporations and economy and all that lower tier shit. Judges and fucking the police here in the States and things to Social Security and Admiralty law. It's the law of water. Now, the law of water operates in the etheric realm, the astral ocean. Think about that, metaphysically speaking. And a lot of people, they're locked down to the temporal physical existence. And then from there, the mental and emotional capacities are manipulated in terms of the etheric body, cutting you off from spirit. The 5 areas we are working to master in life: the physical, the mental, emotional, spiritual, temporal. It's manipulated at that gate in the 4th dimension, the law of water, the etheric realm, in terms of psychosomatics. So the shadow shit that we're dealing with has its roots, its poison roots in the etheric realm. That's where the real war is taking place as well. So when these people meet, I'm going to tell you a secret. They don't meet in the physical. They meet in the etheric. So their front groups, even like the Bilderbergers, Klaus Schwab, who's the fucking head of the Bilderberger group, they're coming out. They're coming out of the ironwood.
1,000 years of dark and 1,000 of light.
Where are you pulling that from?
That's the Rus, the Slavic Vedas. They've got the night and the day of the Svarog. We've just entered the day of the Svarog, so that there was some contention of the dates again, like the Mayan calendar, whether it was 1,000 years or 1,008 years. 1,008 puts us at 2020 into the day of the Svarog. So the dark can still play, but it has to do it in the light. It can't hide as completely as it can. Like grubs coming out of the wood. I got a good book, The Rise of the Phoenix. It goes through a lot of the history of the Rus and that region. I've never read anything like it before. Their take on the migration of peoples through Europe And with everything, the whole European history that we know, there's a different take on it in that book. What it also goes through, which is good, is how they structured their society and how they lived, how they built. They get into detail, which is good. Like, why did they structure their family units the way, like, how did they do that?
These things have been lost in terms of
Yep.
culture. It's a super shit. And then with all the propaganda and miseducation and indoctrination, you know, the domestic issues and the goddamn attack on the tribe and the family units, this could equate the system of the Druids that used to exist in terms of the animist tradition. You take it to the Roosh, you take it to the Great North, and all of these things that were implemented via the White Dragon bloodline lineage. The wisdom councils had their systems. This is the codes, this is the things that are coming through. And everyone's going to get an opportunity to be able to catch it. Some people are going to write about it. Some, if they really catch it, they're going to fucking live it.
It does go through the initiation processes and how purposeful it was. They knew they were against the parasite, the parasitic consciousness. They knew who they were up against as well when they were structuring things. They know who else is on this planet in this reality field with them. They know it, and they know what they're trying to do, and that they set up outposts, and they have the Cossacks, and there's certain tribes who are stationed to guard, and they teach their people in certain ways, holding those positions. And you can take that at any level. The book talks about it in this reality field.
Where people really need to take it is in context to mind.
Mind, exactly.
That's the very first place that the human race was colonized. If they can take over the inner landscape, it's much easier to take over the outer. It's as within as without, right? So the manipulation of dark sorcery and ideologies and systems, all these systems that we have been warped into since the time we fucking incarnated. I'm looking at this shit when I'm a kid, and I'm like, this isn't fucking right. This is something wrong. And the older we get, the more knowledgeable we become, obviously. I think it's important for people to pull back and reflect upon the things being revealed to them. Because if you're on one thing to another, one thing to another, one thing to another, too much, you're not going to be able to integrate or come into a refinement in terms of teaching or even ideologies like you're talking about, implement that in the real fucking world, right? Isn't that the point? What we do, the action we take, that's the manifestation of our magic, our potential, our abilities. And all of these original systems, in terms of the original timeline, should be how we live. But that's how I live. In my domain, living by a code. And nowadays, there's no fucking oath of conduct. You just do whatever the fuck you want. Right? No, you can't do whatever the fuck you want. You got to mask up. You can't say anything. The fuck? That violates common sense. That violates cosmic law. That violates everything.
And they're going to keep doing it until people catch it. Like you've said, it's going to keep coming out in the daylight. Now, they're going to dance the dark in the daylight until people catch it.
And it's all the inverted energies of Saturn and the constructs. They hide shit in plain sight. Now they're just coming out.
Yeah.
Because they know people are fucking blind. And they're just going to consent and go along with it because they're on the fucking thing. They don't have the first eye of Ra cracked open in terms of their hearts. They're coming at things from a place of true intelligence. Everyone's so afraid, like you're saying. Why? What the fuck are we so afraid of? And see, that fear that we experience, that's their fear of us. And then you flip the fucking script. You change the narrative.
Yeah.
So getting into spell casting, write down your declarations and go into evocation. That's what the fuck the media does every day. All in the fucking airwaves, the static. And then with the EMF waves, you're going into a fucking trance. You ever notice that, like, people that watch TV, their heads tilt sideways? It's because they're in a fucking trance, man. And all the subliminal fucking programming and the subconscious mind field, again, in terms of psychosomatics, being manipulated. Look at how you're living, motherfucker.
Then they just come out to you and repeat it.
Every day. Non-stop, 24/7. Fucking spew. Smash your fucking TV.
In context to that fear, the fear of us, the carbon atom is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. Who's that book written for, and who's the beast? In context, it's them calling us the beast. It's them being afraid of us.
6 in terms of gematria. In Hebrew, the number 6 in Hebrew equates the number of men. So 666. That's just one portion of the triangulation factor happening in the etheric realm. The manipulation of 9, the spindle of the energy force, there's no difference. Okay, so 666, 777, that's the sacred number, right? And there's no difference between 7 and 9 in terms of gematria and numerology. That's another secret. And then the 3, the sum parts of anything, will always equate to 3. So the triangulation, you take 0 out, you take the signs of the circle out, the connection to higher force, out the connection to soul, in terms of the ignition and the opening of the gates of intelligence in context to the eye of Ra, then you're fucking blind. Yeah, you might have your third eye crack open a little bit, and people have this experience and they think they're awakening, right? But that's not the first eye. The third eye is not the first eye. The two eyes that you have physically is the second eye. So things you can see physically, and then shit phases in. I've seen shit phase in from other dimensions, dude. Very interesting fucking experiences. But without the first eye extracting the gold of consciousness, the rays of Ra. I used to draw the eye of Ra all the fucking time. I was obsessed with it, dude. Some would equate that to the pineal gland. You could put that same sigil up, slice the brain in half, and you got the eye of Ra. But the real secret in terms of Ra is your heart.
Right.
The heart core ignition, gates of true intelligence. And they're always working to slam that shit the fuck shut, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the tongue, in terms of our communication to muzzling, is directly connected to the heart. So they just cut you the fuck off. They cut you the fuck off in terms of your process at the trunk of the tree. There's no growth. There's no branch off. There's no mastering the solar spiral, right? It's the black sun consciousness. You know what's crazy, man? Looking at the central sun, Nordic symbol versus the black sun symbol. And the difference, ironically, is a 23.4 degree axis. It's on that fucking tilt, man. The black sun sigil versus the central sun, where the gates are open. The black sun, the gates are shut.
Right.
And you can see that in terms of symbolism, if you know symbolism. But it's on that tilt, man. So you got to rotate, right? You got to move the energies, the cone of power within the fulcrum, right?
You said that the initiation, I'm always making sure I'm lining up my axis before I do anything, and any sort of magic. And you also mentioned if you're moving energy up, moving it up and down at the same time, moving it in the opposite directions at the same time, that's made a big difference when I'm doing energy work as well. That made a big difference.
So you're obviously getting the results.
Yeah, things are changing and moving. There are, just while we're on from the initiation, in context to the watchers, because that was the whole tarot reading thing that came up, where that was my question. And that came up regardless of what I thought my question was going to be. The watchers come up in weird shit places. And there was even this mind book that has a whole section on it. There's this old book that I had on the bookshelf, and they talk about it too, but nothing really come to me in terms of, it's obviously a big thing for it to be the question for the tarot reading. I've got pages of notes here from all sorts of different things. So I just wonder if you can talk about
things in terms of the watchers. Go back to the fallen Anu, Elohim, the Omicron Draconian, and the Odedicron Reptilian. These are Helontic science terms. Are part of these factions, and ironically, at war with each other over the harvest field and all the shit. That's where the whole Enki and Enlil and the War of the Brothers and Anu, Sumerian shit comes into our fucking reality field. And then they, violating all of these things, especially in terms of cosmic law, implemented what they had. Genetic modification, making a fucking slavery, wanting to be the gods, but they are not the gods. They do not hail the god realms in terms of the ancestors. It's an appropriation. And anyone that has bought that narrative has been deceived. That's a fucking lie. The human race was not created by these fucking beings. We have always existed, and we always fucking will. I have star blood. Some have told me, not coming out of my mouth, but others have told me I am a cosmic royal, here to implement what I have been and all this different kind of stuff. So my path work and my quest, I face the fucking watchers, man. I fucking face these fuckers and all their meat sacks on the lower level. I've dealt with their fucking overlords, and they don't have jurisdiction. We have jurisdiction. And that's why you must come to know thyself. And so you might come up against this shit. Discerning in terms of any interface that you're having, that's why making connection to the ancestors in terms of your blood codes, and then even deeper than that, beyond that, the very first step is connection to the higher force. And I was listening, interestingly enough, to Manly P. Hall, getting into the Nordic tradition, stating that Odin is mind. All Father is that which is. Now, interestingly enough, the Christian religion, having appropriated these concepts, there would be no religion of Christianity without the Nordic tradition. Tradition goes into prehistory and is even more ancient than Egypt, When you come to understand the mythos and what the mythos reveals, it's fundamentals and principles in terms of mechanics, blueprints, things in terms of cosmology, symbolism, explaining how things work. And with that, in terms of everything we've been getting into, I'm going to pull this segment into a break here with Adrian O'Grady, current initiate in terms of the Mystery School. This is Ethic Exposer, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame Healing Arts, Occult Science. We'll be right back after the break. finding the foothold in resurrection of self-consciousness, an exit From millenary darkness, one should first of all return back to the nation of ancestral memory, having remembered, for as within, where we originated from, and where, in which space, expanses have strengthened the roots which were feeding the life of our people. Only one can realize themselves, which is our duty. Children of the great race, you should know that only that one, the true offspring of gods, who was able to do and create good things for his ancient forefather, and the greatness of his motherland, an ancient initial knowing. It is there within your blood, it is there within your bones. It is there within my blood, it is there within my bones. Welcome back from the break, everyone. This is Seth Esposa, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts and Occult Science, here with Adrian O'Grady, an initiate in terms of the Mystery School. If anybody out there is interested in actual initiation into the occult, no matter what race, tribe, and culture you hail from, check out the services page on the website at blackearthproductions.com. Send me an email at blackearthproductions@hotmail.com. and we will line things out accordingly. And as you've been able to hear so far in this segment, I'm speaking with the man that has done the work, that has got the results, that has found the alignment. And as we dive deeper into this segment, more is going to be revealed, so as to continue. And so it's not gods and goddesses to be worshipped, and the fucking watchers. I've had people try to tell me that the gods of the Nordic tradition are the fucking Anunnaki. Shut the fuck up. You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
You are a simpleton fucking program fucking moron to fucking even assume that. And that's me being kind in terms of what I know. The fact that my ancestors are backing me the fuck up. Look at the surge of what's happened since 2017. You can't make this shit the fuck up. But it's hitting that wall in terms of the etheric realm. Take it back to the Dark Ages when the Dark Priest class really rose the fuck up, and then they instituted in terms of the shadow blood brother Loki, Odin as the All-Father, when it wasn't like that. If there was any patron in ancient times before this shit started becoming appropriated, it was Tyr. Odin is the archetype of the master magus. He's the wise man, he's the wanderer, he's the terrified. He's not one you want to fuck with, because he ain't fucking around. And when I had interface with him, it just happened on its own. And that's why I knew that the ancestors were awakening these codes, right? And he sits with extreme sorrow, enough to make you fucking weep 100,000 fucking lifetimes, like I've actually experienced. And there's that quote, with wisdom comes sorrow.
Yeah.
So seeking wisdom above all things, he sacrifices his eye in the well of Mimir, sacrificed himself unto himself, right? Went through this process, the rites of initiation. And so it's the tearing away, it's the ripping away of that which is not needed in order to truly see. So he's coming at everything in terms of perception from the first eye. Okay. Sometimes you can't trust what the fuck you see, man. Hitting us with all these light frequencies, dark Luciferian reversal codes, mathematical reversals that skew our perception, fuck up the wiring, and in terms of correlations and things to the watchers, all go back to the old ones and the parasitic consciousness that had its resurgence into the nine worlds. At this point, since 2020, it's been a repeat of what happened in ancient times. Exact same thing. You cannot make this shit the fuck up. Not because I want to be right and, oh, it's cool to be Nordic and I'm a Viking. Shut the fuck up. Those people need to shut the fuck up. You're not a fucking Viking. Be in the present. What are we doing now?
Yeah.
What's the Viking or the adventure that we're going to take in this life? Some of us are braving the astral waves. And you think about that. Within the ocean resides Jormungand. So the fourth dimension, Tesseract, lockdown, mathematical reversal, all go back to the angles or angels fallen on. It's the geometries. We're surrounded by fucking cubes and rectangles. Whereas energy moves in spirals, golden ratio, it hits that point. The end equation of that 144 reduces to 9. And that's how they siphon the fucking gold, man, because it's a manipulation of the spindle of the energy force. Now, if you take it back, if you take control of the spindle in context, you can extract the gold from within yourself, within your sphere. And now, in terms of the alchemical rites of initiation, we have the Nectar of Affirmation.
Mm.
Now, did you get any of this yet?
No, not yet.
That's made available in terms of your credentials at 50% off. Tell me you want to set that up. I want to get some to you. It's all the fucking powerful shit.
How much would you recommend ordering with shipping?
If you're able to, I would make an investment. It's per 60 milliliters.
Yep.
In terms of rates. I have whole feeders available if people want to invest that much, however much you want to get that. It's going to continue to be. This, though, is, again, 100% gold liquid, gold nanoparticle, and purified water. It's not monoatomic, it's not Mufkazooch, and it's not Ormus. All that shit's made with chemicals and this dark fucking recipe that was concocted via the 19th dynasty. And so the original timeline, right? It even states in the Vedas that the nectar of immortality would be recreated again at the end of the Kali Yuga.
It's pretty cool. I watched the sequence on that. It seems pretty like.
And this is a part of the legacy of the mystery school that existed. This is the mandate of the ancestors for me. This is why I created this school, man, so people can learn. Because ever since I was a boy, I always had that question: who am I? They don't teach you how to discover that.
No.
What these arts and sciences yield, especially in terms of the law of correspondence, the second cosmic law, all goes back to astropsychology and numerology. That's where you really start diving into that and mastering that shit. And correspondence, rhythm, cause and effect.
That's good. That's good. And I was the same when I was a boy. I wondered why I was here. What's just happened? Why am I here?
You're definitely here to shine.
Yeah.
With your North Star. And have a voice, man. That's the other factor. It's about having a voice and things in terms of communications. That's the third house. You've got all these gifts, all these talents, all these skills. And it really is about mastering your skills, mastering your talents, seeing your projects through, and then putting them out there for others to see. Because that's going to have an influence. That's going to give them inspiration.
And that's what I've decided to do. I've never known what the hell I'm doing or why I'm doing some of the things that I've started, wanted to do something. There's been energy behind it. So it's progressed. Finally, these things are completing like people do with artwork, whether people use it or not, whatever. But yeah, it's interesting. That's one of the frustrations for me, is not really knowing what to do. You know, I do all these different things.
And that's Gemini. And Gemini is going to be able to do multiple things. So you may end up doing, in terms of your North Star trajectory, more than one thing. And that's okay because you're able to. But you just got to make sure to see things through. If you're on one project, you're bouncing to another one, and you're procrastinating in terms of shit you know you got to get done over here because you're bored with it, or it's not going the way that you want it to, bouncing all over the place. You know, Geminis can be spread the fuck thin. Look, I got my Mars in Gemini, man. I get it.
I was aware of this happening with me. It worked out a spiral method. Although I had all these things keep coming up, they seem to keep coming up in patterns. Like I get different energy for things, like a tailwind, like gates would open. I got to stop fighting any of these things and just start following the energy flows and the paths. They're all now completing.
The other factor with North Star in the third house, you may feel the need to have to do more than you actually need to.
Yep. That's what I was just about to say. Putting the stuff out there, but not forcing it on people. If they wanted to know, they'd find out. Really, they'd be looking.
If you do that and you find your alignment, the universe has to meet that, and that's when the magic really starts to fucking happen. It could take some time. We're always tested as well. That's the other factor. Are you going to see things through? Are you for real in terms of your purpose of incarnation, all that stuff, that kind of stuff? Healing through shit, facing our fucking pain, on top of attacks. What a fucking time to be alive. Planet Earth, along with myself, other men in network, are going to be at the forefront. Everything just went to the next level. We're here to lead. We're to fucking lead. You know, most guys, they're a bunch of fucking order followers. Weak ass fuckers, man. How are you going to deal with that shit?
Yeah. No other time in history have these things been presented. Putting myself in these positions to deal with it, to all the masked men around the place, was I just don't want to be near them. It's just too stupid. I need to stand there and not wear my mask. And it took a while to really process and collapse. And then it was them going into their shit. I can sense what's going on in people's minds and be the example. Some people, you can see them come in. They walked in. I was standing there. They come in and they look around quickly with their eyes and they'd see me sitting there and one other person. That's it. That's the 100% why I do it. This is the ninja.
The worst thing that you're going to come up against in a situation like that is public shaming. The place where people comply to that in terms of public shaming is the fact they do it to themselves. It's like, what the fuck is the big deal? Why can't we just have a philosophical, rational fucking discussion? You And it's like submission, submission, submission. The fucking hell.
Yeah.
Don't question. Do what you're told. Stand in line. Eat your salt and brew. Here's a little entertainment. Come back tomorrow. This is your life. What the fuck, man? It doesn't work in terms of our kind.
No.
And you talked about the beast. I get into this in terms of Wolfenau training. And it's not some malefic force. It's the human spirit. And ironically, their definition for a human is monster. Going to deem us as monsters? Yeah, because in our power, we're more terrifying than them. This is why I fucking stated. You know, I would go around being fucking pieces of shit. That's not what it means. This isn't some satanic fucking inverted teaching. When the rise of the internal dragon awakens, what the fuck do you think that force is? You assume God form within the circle, working with archetypal consciousness, the God worlds, all these things, man. They're there for us to work with. See the difference? The appropriation and the inversion and the twisting comes direct from the fucking Watcher's teachings. How dare you rise up, you dirty, rotten fucking sinner? That's that dark Luciferian current. And they play both sides of the equation in terms of triangulation, the false core light, which is wrapped within the ultimate fucking evil.
Yep.
So no matter how it looks, it's the energy. It's the energy of the situation, the individual that you're dealing with, that you got to fucking discern, man.
Yep.
These crusty fucking reptilian, draconian pieces of shit. I've seen shit phase in terms of the etheric realm on people.
Yeah.
So whatever excuses that victim mentality, that becomes the identity. There are ways of being able to map the psyche in terms of psychosomatics to where you can heal anything, because the physical body must follow mind.
Yeah.
See, we do not understand how powerful we are as humans, but you have to believe. The system of belief goes back to you. The higher force wants us to believe in ourselves. You already have the means. If you know, you come into that knowing. Then there's the actual circumstance, situation that you are facing as an individual, like this guy you're talking about. You could tell his state of mind was not in the right place. And something wanted to ride in on him.
I think he was a walk-in. He was a full walk-in. There was no human consciousness there anymore. He was the walk-in. He managed to get hold of this vessel 100%, and he had it from very, very early on. There's a karmic consequence.
Your moon in Cancer, you're going to have quote unquote empathy for these kinds of people. And you've got to be aware of that. That's why Cancers need armor. Wear the fucking armor, dude. It's that integrity, the integrity of your kindness and your care, if given to the wrong individual, especially that vampire, suck you the fuck dry, man. And all in the name of love, because you care so much that if you just care and love them enough, that they're gonna fucking change, and they don't. But that's where you become hard, man. So where you grow up here and you see, you know what? I'm not going to waste caring about people that don't even care about themselves, that fucking hate themselves. It doesn't matter if you gave them the answer to the fucking universe, man. Some of the challenges I think that people are up against, they are genuinely being fucked with. But at the same time, either way, it's a choice that you make in those situations. That's the pressure, right? And most people cave under pressure. So you think the force, the heat of the coal becoming diamond, that's the process we take, right? The refinement in terms of the alchemical rites. Spartan boys would be thrown out into the fucking wilderness. If you didn't make it back, you weren't a Spartan. Think about the psychological factors and the pressure and the fear. You can't coddle something that is meant to be forged into a fucking blade. Right? It's that space between the hammer and the anvil that we feel the most alive when you're actually under that. Now your wits are being tested and all this different kind of stuff. So bring it the fuck on, motherfuckers. I don't care what fucking forces are out there. You're not going to win this war. We did not come to lose. So developing that in terms of our state of mind and making that our focus. It's why accountability and integrity and reaching out. So again, in terms of becoming an initiate, now you are the cause point for other men in your life.
It's good that you put the call out, because saying to everyone, come on, if you haven't booked something, it's good.
You know, victory is at hand. You know, the digger you deep, the more treasure you're going to find. And it hurts. It's painful. Think about my quest and the trials I've experienced. And so many other people out there are going through similar shit. Look at the opportunity we have to wake up every fucking day and go, you know what? I'm going to kick some serious fucking ass. And make that decision no matter what you think or feel. Take all of that to the rites and ritual catharsis, moving through these things, and Wolfenau training, the next step of initiation in terms of becoming an adept. And nobody is getting into the temple rites in terms of the true universal tree of life until they've taken full rites initiation session and done a number of follow-ups with me. And Wolf Ignore training. Temple rites of initiation in the future, that's getting into the true universal true of life, the actual system of magic. It's going to be implemented, man. There's a lot of discrepancies. Is that Kabbalah? There's a lot I could say about Kabbalah, but it's not the only system, let alone the original Western magical tradition. It's not. Anyhow, the more knowledge, the better, man.
Like all the way of life stuff, like you said as well, that's what's been killed. All the family unit stuff, how we live, how it's structured, why it's structured that way. You've got all the hidden history stuff that we just don't hear about anywhere else. I've never heard about some of the stuff talked about. Some of it's coming out, all the Tartaria stuff. What I wanted to talk about, blood code stuff, this concept of the buried ones. You mentioned kings put into stasis amongst other things buried within the earth. And I've had a lot of past life recollections about where I came from in terms of the stars. And there was this story that was coming through about coming here and burying into the earth as a way of being unseen in terms of what was happening, the earth spirit and merging. And
it means a lot in terms of the process of extracting our codex, blood codes, soul codes, our memories, and in context of overlays, distortions, nets, trap snares, the programming, appropriation, the tearing away of who we truly are from the roots, in context to blood codes and soul codes. It's buried asunder. The true records in terms are not found in books. They are found in our blood. Getting into practice in terms of ritual and making connection and taking the alchemical rites of initiation, you go into the Shadowlands to extract the gift. This is the gift in terms. It's like buried treasure that's buried deep down on the inside.
Right.
You know what's there, you feel it. It's like this fucking thorn in your chest trying to get your attention.
Right.
So the ones that are buried in terms of their true essence are the ones that have not tapped it. So it's to the rites of initiation and learning about what all this actually means in terms of actual fundamentals and principles that can be applied to your existence. Now the mythos and metaphor makes sense.
Yeah, right.
It's not some mystical shit. It's de-occulted or demystified at that point. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But it's more of an artistic and poetic way of conveying the teaching, even though what it's like to experience extracting the gold of consciousness. That has to be experienced. It's not some arbitrary idea in terms of our gifts and the things that have been buried asunder. Whether we were told we were not able to do certain things, co-sign that narrative, that becomes an opposition within yourself because you have betrayed your own fucking soul at that point, and you just get layered the fuck up. It's also the things that we really want to be experiencing, the true desires that are in alignment with our soul, that are in alignment with our eternal spirit. So those that are buried, it's the walking fucking dead. These people are the unbegun, conditioned to be fucking vampires and narcissists, mental disorders, all this shit. They have to decide to take the quest. I want people to be fucking empowered. People with no vision. They're blind. They follow the blind god in all of its forms. Take it back to the old ones. Take it back to fucking Azazoth. The blind god, in terms of the Nordic tradition, is the one who killed Balder, tricked by Loki, the shadow. See what I'm saying? All the correlations. And that is the god the world is currently worshiping. You're looking at these leftists or whoever the fuck, right? It's co-signing narrative. Absolute and total fucking violation. And they are going to be the ones that have to deal with the consequences. They don't have the fucking right to do what they're doing because it's violating our freedom as individuals and wherever you fucking stand, knowing the difference. So proper knowledge and wisdom, that's the key.
Interesting you mentioned the walking dead. That's the vision I had too. From the burying consciousness into the earth, the projection was up as a dead thing. It was a projection up from the dead, projecting their consciousness, and was this sleeper mentality.
Here's the real fucking factor in terms of the needlecraft. These people are potentially going to get hosted going into 2023 and 2025. That's why I'm fucking warning. We haven't even seen the effect. The graphene oxide wraps itself around the nervous system. This is verified fucking fact, man. And these disincarnates, in terms of the resurgence, a play out of what's already fucking happened, are seeking bodies. So at any certain point, when you know the fucking difference, you're not dealing with someone that's fucking human. People can have attachments and be oppressed. They're not fully taken the fuck over. But this is the shit we got to dig the fuck out of the soil. It's that poisoned fucking soil. No matter how it shows the fuck up, and it can even manifest in terms of sickness, disease, ailments, all of this malignant shit. It's very sad and I've wept, but we are in a fucking war and we didn't come to lose this war.
No.
The minute people make the choice not to house the parasite is when we will all witness it devour itself. It cannot do anything else. You can't negotiate with it. You can't reason with it. You cannot love it back to itself. Who the fuck made up these ideas? Well, that's how the false cold light operates. If I just love something enough, it's going to change. No, it doesn't give a fuck, and it's going to devour your ass. Right? It's like trading off the most precious thing that we have to offer, which is that, to one another in a very healthy, holistic, organic environment that's in alignment.
Yep. It's interesting with blood codes, people around me who have flipped the hardest, complete 180. You thought they were one way and they're actually the worst of the other way.
That's the recessive gene. There's the pure codes, and then there's the recessive gene, and that's that reptilian shit.
Talk about that a bit more.
There's the pure codex in terms of every race, tribe, and culture, and then there's the recessive codes. It's damaged DNA.
Affected by something.
Things in terms of soul codes, that's getting into the galactic spiral creation. Gates in terms of the galactic spiral creation that do have their connection into the solar spiral. We are working on developing a system of astrology that's going to incorporate both. These arts and sciences are going to evolve. The codes, no matter if it's the blood codes in context of lineage you incarnated into, we incarnated to master being human. Going back to what you were saying about being buried in all these codes and records and memories and libraries, the ladder of RNA and DNA itself. It's a multi-dimensional phenomenon. It's not just physical. It's the same thing in context of mind. If we can ground ourselves at the convergence, spearhead of evolution in our world, this is where we are bringing everything. And this is why it's pressed up. At this point, especially in terms of the procession, we are tearing through all of these veils. And most of humanity now is at the first veil, even more than it was back before 9/11. We're piercing on into the 4th, the 5th, into the 9th. So this whole experience that we are having in context of healing and taking back what belongs to us in terms of the birthright, all go back to codes. They go back to memories. They go back to what belongs to us in terms of every race, tribe, and culture. But the recessives and the ones that are really layered the fuck up, whether they know it or not, unwittingly are being fucking used in terms of the ultimate fucking evil. That is a metaphysical fact.
Yeah.
The fact that we live in a world of multiplicity is to state that not everything around you is a reflection of you. That's postmodern, nihilistic, new age bullshit. All of that shit, right? And we can't even have a decent conversation about certain things that people putting out. They are becoming dogmatic. I'm not dogmatic. People can question. You can think I'm insane. You can think I'm a fucking asshole. I don't give a fuck what you think. I'm here to explore these concepts based upon my actual experience. Okay, what's your experience? What's this person's experience? Do you have pieces that you can bring to the table? And now we have a decent conversation, and now we are in the process of evolving. Higher forces, present truth, the true master teacher, showing us all the different correlations. Right? So in terms of conduct, people want to get in a jock, and you don't have the all truth, motherfucker. And that's the beautiful thing at the same time, because we still have the opportunity to explore and consider that the shit that we do think we know or assume we know could be off. I will consider what anybody says, but it doesn't mean I'm going to take it. I have my own tests for that in terms of the trivium and a lot of other methods that you could apply to actually know if something's true. But the experience of activation with your codes is absolutely undeniable. And everybody out there has different templating. Everybody out there has different codes. That's okay. We should be celebrating that instead of making dogma. And this is where all the religious wars and the tearing apart of tribes happens.
You had that lady on, I think 3 segments ago, or she was traces her lineage back to Hydra. That was a good example. I enjoyed that, hearing from other people coming from a different way of thinking, the spirit and soul codes coming forward and talking about things.
Right. And individuals are given the opportunity, with your blood codes and soul codes, of becoming a partaker of this bio-spiritual regenesis and the original purpose of incarnation. That's why we came here. To remember who the fuck we are. Pressed up against these fallen pieces of shit that want to be gods. They can't do what we can, being human. And there's all the shit that people throw around. Who are humans to think that we're at the apex? Well, why the fuck not? You're gonna fucking worry about what's happening in Andromeda, man. What the fuck? Or even in Ukraine. You want a virtue signal online, you fucking idiot? What are you doing in your own community? What are you doing in your own family, in your own fucking life to make it better? That's where we start. So you do what you can. And if everybody caught that in terms of social dynamics and how we conduct ourselves, living by a code that needs to be established, not as dogma, but common fucking sense.
Yeah.
The point of everything is going to take you into the actual experience of a lot of the things that I talk about. It's not a topic of conversation, it's what you're actually experiencing.
Mm.
And that's the mark, that's the key. Because when you come from experience, there's a conviction in your tone. It's not speculation or assumption, or I guess it's like that. No, you still don't know. There's no guesswork, it's a knowing. Boom, you're fucking solid, and you're in the power. And so with that, I'm gonna pull this segment into another break. This is Seth Esposa, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame Healing Arts, Occult Science here with Adrian O'Grady. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break, everyone. This is Seth Esposa, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts and Occult Science here with Adrian O'Grady.
Do have some past life memories of Egypt and the wormhole that was open, screaming from the top of a temple. You asked for this. That's what I was screaming to. They were running and screaming away from this stream of dark rain that possession was coming down, hitting people and taking over. And I was one of the priests screaming at the top of the temple. Shortly after, I was killed by the temple guards. What I seem to have been doing in past lives was keeping the table rocking the dark agenda so it couldn't land a direct hit, and was skewed and had a time cutoff limit. You tell people, you try and teach different ways. Largely, it was working to offset what was being implemented. The earliest memories I've had go back to another universe. When I left that universe, there was an opportunity presented to accelerate me deal with karma from that, to help me undo and fix things from that. There was this reality field, this earth, this universe created. You can be involved in this if you want to be and take certain positions. And my journey seems to have been through this universe, then a briefing of what was happening, the higher class and teaching better ways. I'm still trying to track these things back. Like O'Grady changed their names a lot. There's not that much information. Even my auntie, she worked in the department. My father's sister worked in the department of births, deaths, and marriages. We don't know anything from my grandfather, my father's father. Everything past that is completely unknown. And even she couldn't look anything up. And she was in the department, so she had full access as far as things go. But all I can tell at the moment is there were name changes involved, that a lot of it's hidden. A lot of the symbolism on the O'Grady coat of arms, it's indicative but not the answer.
So what's on your coat of arms?
There's 3 griffins. There's the complete body of the lion with the griffin's head, which has meaning beyond the griffin front feet. Ophinicus is a type of griffin, got the griffin head but the body of the lion.
So taking it to the animist tradition in terms of our people, the original tradition got routed the fuck out. In terms of ancestors, this happened with people in your line, and that's the memories that are coming back to you. If we're the accumulation of our ancestors, if they didn't fucking catch it, someone within the line is going to have to fucking eventually deal with it. And it's usually a shaman that's able to. And in terms of my incarnation, the bloodlines that I incarnated into did at one point become circumvented masonries on both sides of my family. My mother's and father's side. High level beyond the typical fucking lodge. And if you're a template holder like myself, this is the risk that we fucking took. But why? Because this shit needs to be taken the fuck back. Everybody's going to have to do that. You just might have a lot more to fucking deal with than somebody else. It doesn't make you evil unless you side with the dark ones and actually fucking continue the poisoned fucking legacy to their fucking agendas and all that different. And if you have any true potential, you better bet your ass they might come knocking or try to take you the fuck out. I want to make this point. I'm not a researcher, even though I work to be. I'm a player on the field and speaking from actual fucking experience. That's the difference with me. This isn't something that I'm just simply observing. I was in the fucking goddamn cauldron of shit, having faced the Watchers and all these questions that you've asked me to. And the one thing, to walk this path, we can have no fear. So whether it was appropriate at one fucking time, okay, who the fuck are you and what are you doing? So you start to wake up. You got initiated. It's been a couple of years. Moving through this stuff is not easy.
My first big awakening was 2012-13. Became more aware of a lot of the stuff. 9/11 and all the underground bases, the Draco. In terms of 2012-13, that was when all hell broke loose energetically, when I was having interface with all these things. And the thing that really ended that was I became aware of a binding, 16 generation binding that had happened on my father's side. I broke that binding. That set a lot of stuff straight, routed that out. And so the journey continues, but that was on my father's side. And that coat of arms at the top of it means wounded but not defeated.
Vulner optus non victus.
Yeah.
There's an axe. Carve that into fucking steel. I have a forger that can forge you a sword. I got my sword forged just right next to me. And it's a magical sword I encrypted in runic fire, my axiom on my weapon.
Yeah.
Every man, that was his lineage, a sword that he would pass and would last the ages. If you want a weapon to hold in your hand, hard steel that's been forged in terms of your codes and the codes of Albion themselves. I have a forger that can forge you a sword. And all of these wars that have taken place and all the discrepancy in terms of the white race know the truth about our people. The same thing that happened to every race, tribe, and culture out there happened to our people. The recessives are the ones that have not waken the fuck up, and they're buried like the fucking dead.
In terms of swords, because I was always attracted to the sword martial art, you mentioned Odinmar.
Odinmar is the Great North. It's every race, tribe, and culture hails the Great North in terms of Odinmar. It's not one race over the other and all that bullshit. If you trace the Egyptian pharaonic lineage, it hails the Great North. We brought magic and tarot and the pyramids to Egypt.
Yeah.
Confirmation after confirmation after confirmation. In terms of my line and my lineage and the Rosti cross sigil on my family crest, that's shamanic lineage. White dragon lineage, shamanic, Magi Grail shaman, blood codes, soul codes. That's my codes. Okay, what are your codes? What is anybody else's codes? Do you know thyself, right? We come to remember it's only a matter of time before all this poisoned detritus and overlays and distortions and programming get routed the fuck out. And we come back onto the original timeline. Where do you start doing that? You start doing that right where you stand, within your domain. Think about all the betrayals. You think about all the fucking shit, the wars that have taken place, even among families. Why does this happen here? Because of the goddamn fucking parasites. It's not to call out an entire fucking race of people. It's individuals within every race, tribe, and culture that constitute the black nobility and all this fucking dark shit.
For sure.
The race card bullshit, that's not the fucking issue. In ancient times, we named ourselves. We were not named by others. How you saw yourself was reflected. You're letting other people know how you want them to see you and know you. This is how you know yourself. It's not the other way around, dealing with some fucking straw man. That's not who the fuck you are. That's Admiralty law. That's how they poison the waters. So all these things, the codes and getting into the actual blood itself, you can do that in context of ritual. Use your imagination. That's why it's there. It's a weapon. It's a tool I can use to tap the other realms and bring something back of quality that's going to benefit my life, the existence of it. You got all this fucking warfare, the draconians and reptilians and greys and insectoids. And go watch The Fourth Kind, fuckers. Go watch The Fourth Kind. What does all of that go back to? Samaria. If you want to know about malevolent forces in context, whether it's real or not, I assure you it is because of my own experience. Go watch The Fourth Kind. If people are dealing with this shit, there's a right way to fucking deal with it. And you got to become a warrior.
Yep.
I don't care if you're a man or a woman. This is your eternal spirit and your soul at stake. The most important thing you will ever own. It belongs to you.
You mentioned the Bagua. They did the circles and stuff like that. You mentioned an inverted, it should be lines, not circles.
That's 8 gates, 9 worlds.
Right.
You got 8 gates. It's on the sigil that's on my picture. You see it right there in front of you, right? You see the original template in the middle of the circle, the 2 triangles meeting at the middle. In terms of the convergence, you got the Rossi cross. That sigil is for protection. It's a binder. That within the circle, drawing upon all the gates in terms of the spindle of the energy force. So when 9 are in alignment, like I was talking about, that's how the energy moves. All energy moves in spirals, man, but you can work within this structure of the octagon. And see, it's funny that they fight in an octagon, right? Look, on a little bit higher level in the 4th dimension, that's where the real war is taking place.
Right.
At that moment, that's where you are unlocking the Tesseract and overcoming these forces. And so think of it like that. That's why training in martial arts and doing Wolfenau training, if you haven't done that, sign up for that shit, man. I'll take you even deeper.
Okay.
Working with geometries is fine, even the cube itself, but you don't want to use them in a way that's going to lock you the fuck down. You got to unlock this Pandora's box and fucking deal with it. Otherwise, it's just stuff the fuck down, man. It's buried. It's dead. It's all that shit. And the treasure that's there in the Shadowlands lies dormant. And being able to distinguish between what is you and what is not you. You are not the mistakes of your ancestors. You might have to deal with it.
Yeah,
it's definitely not shit you want to pass the fuck on. And it can be passed on in the blood curses, but that's why we go into the process of healing. At any point, you don't cauterize and seal off the fucking wound. These forces crack it open. You get that agging shit. Thought I fucking dealt with this, but here it is again. Because it hasn't been fully cauterized or scarred the fuck over, right? And we're only going to become our scars if we let them. So with everything, I'm going to wrap up this segment with you now. It was excellent having you on, man.
This is good, and I'll get back to you with the Nectar of Athanasia and the Wolfendale training, and I'm keen to keep going.
And continue to work with the material. It's going to be there your entire life.
Yeah.
That's the key. It's always going to be there as a true guide. Hello, Grady. It was great having you on, and I definitely look forward to speaking with you again and getting everything up to you.
Excellent. Thanks for everything.
Excellent. Now, at this point, if anybody's interested in the Mystery School, check out the website at blackearthproductions with a Z.com. Click on the services page. Everything in terms with the Mystery School, I'm going to be upgraded. And if you've not taken an initiation into the Mystery School, now is the time. Readings and other services will still be made available on the services page as it's been. And as to everything on the products page, Thunder God Root Vine made available, the Nectar of Athanasia, you're going to want to get a hold of this stuff. Both combined are two of the most powerful elixirs on the face of the earth. Not only do we have that available, but weapons forged, like we mentioned, and also an apothecary that will get you access to things in terms of practical alchemy when it comes to herbs, tinctures, metals, minerals, all of these things. As to your benefits in terms of physical health and also mental, emotional, spiritual life, so that you can master the temporal existence and find your alignment with these arts and sciences and everything this entails. I'm here to announce that shirts and hoods are finally made available. The Alfarian Star Codex men's t-shirt and also the Serpent of Wisdom hoodie on the products page. And with both, we will have large and medium sizes made available. You definitely want to get a hold of those. The whole line in terms of our brand is manifesting. And more is going to come in terms of what has been promoted with that as well. For any inquiry that I just mentioned, send me an email at blackearthproductions with an S at hotmail.com. The treasures that you will uncover in working with the rites are many and manifold. They are the inborn spiritual treasures of your ancestors that you have inherited from them. These treasures are their greatest gift to you. Take them, work with them, and awaken to their wonder. This is Seth Esposa, Black Earth Productions. We'll be speaking more of you very soon.